Paul, you're up.
Oh, Michael, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Blown away by the way that you reframe things in perspective. I'm curious for you, kind of a quick two-part question. What is your perspective and viewpoint on intuition, and what relationship have you found with that and being comfortable? Because I feel like so many times we know that we should get out of that situation, but we kind of choose not to. And I'm curious on your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people, in the context of like a relationship that is not productive, people will choose the short-term comfort of just sticking with it instead of having to have the short-term discomfort of a blow up or even a hard conversation, right? Couples will let things just sit and simmer for years and years and years instead of one just saying, "Hey, when you do this thing, it hurts my feelings or it does this or whatever." And so I really do think you need to keep that in the back of your mind. Like, yes, this is going to suck in the short term, but it's going to improve us overall, I think. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, a little. I'm curious though, like for you though, because you talked about how you've had a massive transformation, right? Like, what was really that thing? Because there had to be some type of internal shift that made you be like, oh, I need to stop like drinking and I need to like get out of this thing. What kind of was that experience for you?
I mean, I think it was just like years and years of the crap building, and I think that eventually you hit a tipping point where the rewards from drinking are become outweighed by the negatives. So when I in scarcity brain, I write about addiction, and people will often think that they'll look at say a heroin addict and say, why would a person ever do that? Doesn't make any sense for that person to do drugs. They're living on the street, they're whatever. And the problem with that is that it actually does make sense for that person to do drugs because doing their drug of choice immediately solves their problems in the short term, right? Doing the drug of choice will always make that person's life better immediately. Whereas trying to get off drugs, that your life sucks for a really, really long time. And I can tell you, when I quit drinking, my life sucked for a while. It got a lot worse before it got better. And so for me, it was just eventually, I think, realizing that that was going to be part of the buy-in, and that I was just gonna have to see what happened, because I could also very clearly see that like in the long term, my life was just going to continue to be a mess long term. And so deciding to sort of walk through the hottest part of the fire rather than have a slow burnout was the solution. But I kind of big picture on that too is that I think that people do things for a very good reason, even if we don't necessarily understand them. People don't do things because they don't get some sort of benefit, right? Like with me, I knew that drinking would probably lead me to problems in the long term, but it would solve all my problems immediately in the short term. And so it's like I can either sit here in my bullshit or I can have a drink, and then my life is going to improve immediately. So why wouldn't I do that? Eventually you start to realize, oh, here's why I wouldn't do that. And then that's where it starts to get interesting.